Are you struggling to keep up with AI news just as I am? Drowning in an endless sea of AI news? You follow blogs, you check Twitter, you subscribe to a dozen newsletters, and you still feel like you're missing out on the really important stuff? What if you could build your own personal AI research assistant? An assistant that reads all the tech news for you every single day, memorizes it, and then once a week writes you a perfectly formatted newsletter, tailored exactly to your interests. Sounds like science fiction? Well, today we're making science fact. In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to build this incredible automated workflow using n8n, a few RSS feeds, the power of Google's Gemini, and a vector database. Welcome back to NIIT. And to make this, you don't need to be a programming genius. By the end of this video, you'll have a system that automatically collects, analyzes, and delivers this personalized AI newsletter right in your inbox. Ready to build your news reading superpower? Let's dive in. Alright, here's our playground, the n8n canvas. Now, before we get into the weeds, let's look at the master plan. Our workflow is actually two separate machines working together. Machine number one is our daily data harvester. Think of it as a diligent librarian. Every single day, it wakes up, grabs the latest articles from our favorite tech news sites, reads them, and then files them away in a special super smart library called a vector store. Machine number two is our weekly newsletter genius. It wakes up once a week. It looks at the topics we have in our library that our harvester has been building all week. It finds the most relevant articles and then writes a beautiful HTML newsletter summarizing its findings. So, one part collects the knowledge, the other part synthesizes it. Simple, right? Let's build the librarian first. So our harvester kicks off with a schedule trigger. Now we want to run this every day. Say it runs at midnight. Next, we need to tell our workflow where to look for news. So we find the set node to add our RSS feeds. In this set node, we are going to create a simple list of RSS feed URLs. What I like to do is add a JSON here, and I've put in KD Nuggets and Last Week in AI, but you can add any RSS feed you like. They're freely available on the internet. TechCrunch, The Verge, your favorite blog. Go nuts. Next, we need to add the split out node because we are trying to input multiple of the URLs. So we do need to execute the node before. So let's give this a go. Okay, that's not done. So here we will get our RSS feeds. This is what we need to split, and we can see that the two feeds are right here. The next step is to add the RSS read node. In this case, we want each of these URLs to be read, and this should do it. There we are, 30 items. So we can see that a bunch of articles from KD Nuggets is here, along with Last Week in AI. So it seems like it is pulling all the content from the two RSS feeds. But there is one problem. Computers don't read articles like we do, they read data. So to make this output useful from here, we need to first normalize it. So let's add another set node, and we want to add a field. Let's put all of this information into a single item called an article. Now here I have added the title, the creator, the link, the date, the content extracted from here onto a single object called the article. Now this would do it for all 30 of them, so this creates the 30 articles. Now here is the brainy part. Where do we store all this knowledge? So we need a vector store. Now what we can do here is use the MongoDB Atlas Vector Store. So first we want to add all of these documents into this vector store. Now you will be asked to create a credential before you can use this. Either you can set up MongoDB locally or host it on cloud. Now we can see that each of these articles is here. Now you have to set up a vector collection beforehand with a vector index. You can learn how to do that in the MongoDB Atlas documentations. The process is quite simple. Now before we execute this, we also need to add an embeddings model. Now I will be using the Google embeddings model, specifically the text embedding of 4. And let's move this to the side. Then we also need a document loader. Now we can input all of this. We can even go with custom splitting. In that case, we would use a recursive character text splitter with, say, a chunk overlap of 200. Now, if you don't know what this is, it doesn't matter that much, but basically you're breaking down all of this information into small pieces and then storing them in the vector store. So we have our splitter, our document loader. Now let's run this step to see if it's working right. So we can see that this takes place, and okay. So this is basically our harvester. This gathers all of the articles and then puts it into our vector store. So part 1 is done. If you want to see exactly what has happened, we can do that too. So all of these articles got broken down into small chunks. Now we can also see the embeddings that are there. Now the embeddings are a vector representation of each of these. Let's look at the JSON. Right. So each document would be represented using numbers. So say for example, this one document is represented using these set of numbers. So now that our library is stocked, it's time to hire our AI newsletter editor. This part of the workflow starts with another schedule trigger. So we want to set up another trigger that would run, say, weekly, every week, every Sunday, maybe at 6 a.m. before we wake up. And here is our trigger for that. Well, the next thing that our editor needs is instructions. What are we interested in? So in order to put that, we'll add another set node right here. Well, what does this set node require? Well, we want to give it all the topics. So I like putting JSON. So as you can see here, I have put generative AI, artificial intelligence, and tech. If you suddenly get an obsession with AI in healthcare, you can just add it to this list. That is what makes this newsletter personal. Now let's move on to the next part. The absolute heart of this project is the LangChain AI node, agent node. So LangChain, right here, this is the LangChain agent node. Now we wanted it to follow a certain set of instructions. Now here's the prompt that I had designed for this. I want a newsletter page that gives updates on the following topics, and then we pass the topics that we had previously defined. Use the attached AI article vector store for searching the vector store for all relevant articles on the topics. The output should always be a nicely formatted HTML page with hyperlinks to the articles and small summaries. Include at least 5 articles and return the HTML only. So we also need to configure a few things. So we need our chat model. In this case, we're going to go with our trusty favorite Google Gemini. Let's go for the 2.5 Flash. We also want to give it a tool. Now, this tool is going to be the same as our vector store. So the same one that we has used before. We want to retrieve the documents. Now we want to give the description here so that the model is able to use this tool, that is, retrieve the documents as and when it requires to. AI articles from the vector store. Choose the collection and remember to give the same vector index as you had given previously for this. The tool is set. We also require embeddings here. We can just use the same Google Gemini embeddings we had used previously. Right. So is there anything else we have left out on? No. All right. Then that would seem like about it. So we have our AI agent here. And we're not telling it to search the whole internet. We are only telling it to search that curated library, our vector store. This concept is called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG. It makes the AI's output incredibly relevant and grounded in the data that we provided it. So this vector store node is what is the retrieval tool that is connected here. And of course, our Gemini chat model is the brain. Plugging this in, as we need this agent to do the thinking and the writing and finally give that formatted HTML page. Now this would generate the HTML page, but where would it go? Of course, we want to send it to ourselves, so we go to the Gmail node and click on send a message. So the operation is send. You configure the email. Let's say we write weekly AI newsletter, and we want to send HTML in the message. So this is where we'd give our page. We need to generate that. Let's then, so we run this once. That means our library is populated. So this runs, and this should query our vector store. We get it back. Okay. So yeah, so this is our HTML. Put our HTML right here. And then remember to fill the email portion. And once you execute that, we can see that it has sent the message. Now let's look at our inbox to see what we received. So this is the article, the newsletter that we received with all the articles in it. We have the article itself. The read more takes us to the website where this article is there. We have a small summary. And this is the best way we can keep up to date with what's going on in the AI world. So that's it, we're done. So every week, like clockwork, this workflow will spring to life, researching topics and putting it into its own private knowledge base and sending you a perfect personalized newsletter. So we built our daily harvester. It automatically reads the RSS feeds and uses Google Gemini to create the vector embeddings. A smart library, it stores all of this in MongoDB Atlas Vector Store. We also created the AI newsletter agent. It wakes up weekly, uses our library as a tool to research the topics that we chose. And then the automated delivery aspect of it. It writes a summary in HTML and sends it directly into our inbox. So you've just turned a chaotic flood of information into a calm, curated stream of knowledge. This is the true power of generative AI and automation tools like n8n, building personalized systems just for you. The possibilities are endless. You could adapt this for legal articles, financial news, marketing trends, anything. If you found this helpful and want to see more builds like this, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. And make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss the next automation deep dive. What would you use this workflow for? Drop your ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you'd come up with. Thanks for building today. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.